Hello, I'm Patrick Hunt, and I'm thrilled and honored to be with you for this event. I love animals, and I can only think that whoever doesn't love animals must be pretty unlovable, if that's possible. Animals are some of the absolute most important parts of our world. And if dogs don't like you, there may be a reason why. If cats like you, even better. Now, what I'd like to share is a little bit from a book that I wrote a few years ago. And this little book is The Fable of the Biblical Animals. Since this is absolutely one of my favorite little books, I'll tell you a little story about it. I wrote it in 2 weeks in a monastery in Switzerland, in between National Geographic expeditions. And they gave me a little cell with a bed and a table, and crucifix over the bed, pretty austere, as you can imagine in this monastery. But I ate with the monks, the chanoines, as they're called in French-speaking Switzerland. I ate breakfast with them. I ate lunch and dinner with them. And I asked all the monks over and over, because I sat with each of the different monks in this Augustinian order, what was their favorite animal in the Bible. Suffice to say, the consensus among all the monks was the donkey. So that's what I will share in a little bit of a story. When you think about animals and animal fables, there's a huge, long history and repository of this. And you have to start sort of with Egypt, because Egyptian animal fables are voluminous with stories about animal behavior. And these animal stories in Egypt, they're sometimes on graffiti, sometimes on potsherds, sometimes on papyrus. They were so important to the Egyptians. They're filled with humor and irony and animal behavior that whether we imitate them or they imitate us is immaterial. But these were the stories that inspired Aesop. This is the famous painting by Rembrandt. And it's actually possibly his first painting ever. And it shows the story of the hireling prophet Balaam, who was very angry because his donkey kept mashing him into a wall. And Balaam, who's supposed to be a prophet, is so angry he starts to beat his donkey, but the donkey saw something that the so-called prophet, the visionary, didn't see, and that was the angel of God standing in the story with a flaming sword to stop Balaam and indeed kill him if he continues. And so the donkey, I love looking at the donkey because if you note the anger of Balaam, the irrationality of the human, and you also notice that that donkey is very articulate. Look at those teeth. Any dentist would be proud of those teeth. And the donkey talks to Balaam, and Balaam doesn't even realize that he's talking to the donkey for a while. I'm going to read just a little bit from this book, the Fables of the Biblical Animals, Creation Groans. And I want to point out that in the preface, there's something very magical. And that is, legend has it that King Solomon conversed with animals by some magical ring or peerless wisdom. Well, animals certainly can communicate with each other in ways we have yet to fathom, despite all our laboratory experiments and Kafkaesque attempts. We so often misinterpret their communication with us, which might possibly frustrate them more than it does us, wrongly thinking they have nothing to say. Sometimes I think my cat has a very low opinion of me. Marmalade, our ginger cat, tries so hard to communicate with me, and he probably thinks I'm stupid, which may be true. Animal wisdom has been a fruitful imaginary exercise in which we've indulged for untold millennia, as we have long hoped that our companion animals might overlook our many follies. Whether talking animals exist or not, and we find them in world literature from Egyptian fables to the Greek Aesop and La Fontaine's makeover is not even important in a fable, whether talking animals exist, but animals also quite naturally perform many unusual functions, including in the Bible with speech or sapient behavior at times, sometimes supernaturally, as all of these animals in the Bible and their actions do not strain believability. Even when we might think about animal instinct or what we term natural cunning leaves us leagues behind, we humans, in terms of strategy or intelligence. There are too many occasions or quick promptu adjustments that animals make to condescendingly explain everything animals do as if by instinct. How do animals know so many practical things? They have a straight line approach to problem solving and a profound calculus. Note birds' awareness of the vector of air resistance when flying, or the predatory animal's shortcut to the Pythagorean theorem when hunting prey by taking the right angle. Also, the spider sets a web considering different phenomena like the attraction of light and the right breeze. These are only a few examples of brilliant animal so-called instincts that leave us scratching our heads. Now, I want to jump to this story about Balaam's donkey. And I'm not going to read the whole story, but here's the donkey speaking. While only a donkey, I can tell you from experience that we are maligned as stubborn, when in reality, that fool Balaam was far more stubborn than any donkey you'll ever meet. If you listen to donkey's brain, you'll find enormous subtleties in our sounds. We make several fine distinctions, we donkeys, between levels of resistance. One soft bray means, just let me think about it a minute. Another louder bray might mean, I have my own idea about that. Yet another intense bray, going along with a twitching tail and an angry glance, says, if you keep pushing me, I just might kick you. So I was very, very pleased that donkeys were the favorite animals of the monks in the Order of the Grand Saint Bernard in Switzerland, because the donkey is probably my favorite animal too. If someone ever calls you an ass, maybe it's not always an insult. At least it wouldn't be to a donkey. Thank you.